I never imagined that a tiny piece of plastic could turn my whole world upside down. But there it was, a test strip with 2 dark lines staring back at me like a secret I wasn't ready to face. My name's Maya, and a week ago, I thought my life was perfectly steady. My husband Evan and I had a sweet little girl, Sophie, who'd be turning 2 next month. She was our miracle, the one we never thought we'd have. You see, when I was 19, doctors told me I might never get pregnant. It broke me back then. But when Sophie came along, she healed something in me I didn't even know was still broken. Evan and I built our small world around her laughter. Sleepy Sunday mornings, bedtime stories, her tiny hands clutching our fingers. Everything felt right, stable, predictable, until now. It started as a whisper in my gut, that familiar unease you can't quite name. My period was late by just a few days, but something in me knew. I tried to ignore it at first, told myself it was stress. But the thought wouldn't let go. That morning, I crept into the bathroom before Evan woke up. The world was still quiet, just the faint hum of the fridge in the kitchen. I tore open the test wrapper with trembling hands. When the line appeared, darker than I'd ever seen before, my knees nearly gave out. Pregnant. I stared at it for a long time, hoping the meaning would somehow change, but it didn't. By the time I walked back to our bedroom, the early light had started to filter through the curtains. Evan was half asleep, one arm draped across the pillow where I'd been lying. I could have said it right then, but something inside me froze. I kept it to myself all day, pretended everything was normal. Fed Sophie, cleaned the kitchen, folded tiny clothes. But my thoughts were loud, my heart heavier with every passing minute. That evening, when Sophie was asleep, I finally told him. He was sitting on the couch scrolling through his phone. I stood there for what felt like forever before whispering, "Evan, I took a test." He looked up. "What kind of test?" I swallowed hard. "A pregnancy test." Silence. It stretched between us like a long, invisible wall. He blinked once, twice, and it's positive. His face changed instantly. Confusion, then disbelief, and finally, something like panic. He ran a hand through his hair and let out a breath. "Maya, we talked about this. You know I'm not ready." "I wasn't planning it either," I said quickly. "It just happened." He didn't yell. Evan never yells, but the calm in his voice hurt worse. "I love you. I love Sophie. But another baby right now? I can't." That night, we barely spoke. He lay awake staring at the ceiling, and I lay beside him, pretending to sleep while tears soaked into the pillow. For the next few days, we circled around each other like strangers. Every smile was forced, every word measured. Sophie, oblivious to it all, kept tugging at our hands, asking us to play. And every time she laughed, guilt twisted deeper into my chest. A few nights later, Evan finally broke the silence. "Maya," he said softly, "maybe you should go to the clinic. Just talk to someone, see what your options are." Options. The word hit me like cold water. I knew what he meant. He was trying to sound gentle, trying not to say the word abortion. But we both knew that's what he was asking me to consider. I tried to stay calm. "Evan, what if we just wait and see? Maybe..." He shook his head before I could finish. "No, I can't do this again, not right now." The finality in his tone made my stomach twist. Later that night, after he fell asleep, I sat in the living room with the lights off. The glow from Sophie's nightlight spilled faintly into the hallway. I could hear her tiny snores. I placed my hand over my stomach. It was still so early, barely 5 weeks. But the thought that there was already life growing inside me made my chest ache. And yet, the thought of losing Evan terrified me even more. I started wondering what it would mean if I chose one over the other. This tiny heartbeat versus the man I'd built my whole life around. The next morning, I tried to talk to him again. I asked, if I go through with it, if I end this pregnancy, can we maybe try again next year when you're ready? He looked away, his voice low. That's not fair, Maya. I don't know if I'll ever be ready. Maybe Sophie's enough for me. His words landed like a quiet explosion. I didn't cry right away. It was like my body shut down, as if my heart needed time to catch up with the pain. The rest of the day went by in a blur. I made breakfast, took Sophie to the park, smiled at other moms like everything was fine. But inside, everything was breaking. That evening, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror again. My reflection looked like a stranger's, pale, tired, eyes rimmed red. I whispered to myself, what am I supposed to do? There was no answer, only the sound of the house settling around me. I thought about telling my mom, but she lives 2 states away, and she's always believed marriage means sacrifice. She'd probably tell me to listen to my husband. But how do you sacrifice something you haven't even held yet? That night, I dreamed of Sophie as a baby, her tiny fingers wrapped around mine. And when I woke, I was crying. The next day, Evan suggested we go for a drive, just to clear our heads. We drove along the coast, silent, the sound of waves filling the car. He finally said, "You're quiet." I nodded. There's nothing left to say. He sighed. Maya, I don't want to lose us. But another baby could ruin everything we've built. Or maybe, I whispered, it could make it stronger. He didn't answer. When we got home, Sophie ran to the door, giggling, her little arms wide open. Evan picked her up and kissed her cheek, smiling like nothing was wrong. I watched them, my heart splitting in two. That night, after putting Sophie to bed, I opened my phone and found myself scrolling through Reddit. I don't even know why. Maybe I just needed strangers who wouldn't judge me. I typed out everything. How I'd found out, what Evan said, how torn I felt. When I hit post, my hands were shaking. Within minutes, replies started pouring in. Some people were kind, some blunt. One person wrote, "This isn't a simple right or wrong situation. Whatever you choose, it will change everything." Another wrote, "It's your body, your heart, your choice. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for how you feel." I read those words over and over until my eyes blurred. For the first time, I realized maybe I wasn't alone. But being reminded of that didn't make the decision any easier. The days that followed felt endless. Evan grew distant, quieter, like he was already preparing himself for whatever I'd decide. I caught him once staring at Sophie while she played with her toys, his eyes full of love, but also fear. Maybe he was scared of not being enough, for her, for me, for another child. Maybe I was too. Still, every night when the house went silent, I felt that tiny heartbeat echoing in the dark, even if it was only in my imagination. And with each passing day, the choice I'd been avoiding grew heavier. One night, Evan said quietly, "If you want to go to the clinic, I'll go with you." I didn't answer right away. I looked at him. Really looked. The man I'd fallen in love with when we were just two broke kids dreaming of a future. The man who held my hand through every storm. And now, the same man asking me to let go of something I didn't even know how to say goodbye to. I took a deep breath. "Evan, if I do this, I need to know you'll still be here, that we'll still be okay." He hesitated. "I'll always love you, Maya. But I don't know if we'll be okay." That was the first time I truly felt the floor give way beneath me. I didn't sleep that night. I sat by Sophie's crib, watching her chest rise and fall, wondering how something so small could carry so much peace while my world was unraveling. Outside, the sky was turning pale with dawn when I whispered, "What do I do?" No one answered. And maybe that's the hardest part, realizing some choices don't have a right answer, only consequences. If you're watching this right now, please take a second to like this video and subscribe. It helps more than you think. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there needs to hear this story too, because for me, the story isn't over yet. The morning after that long, sleepless night, I woke up feeling like someone had taken the air out of my lungs. Evan was already up, getting ready for work. The sound of his footsteps echoed faintly down the hallway, distant, careful, as if he didn't want to wake me. Or maybe, as if he didn't want to face me. When I walked into the kitchen, he was pouring coffee. He looked tired, eyes shadowed, hair still damp from the shower. For a moment, he just stared into his mug, and I could tell his mind was somewhere else entirely. "Morning," I said softly. He nodded. "Morning." It was such a small word, but it felt heavier than ever. We ate breakfast in silence, the kind of silence that screams louder than any argument ever could. Sophie babbled happily in her high chair, throwing bits of toast onto the floor. I forced a smile for her sake, but Evan barely looked up. When he finally left for work, I stood at the window watching him drive away. The car disappeared down the street, and I felt something break inside me. I turned to see Sophie looking up at me, her big brown eyes curious. "Mommy sad?" she asked. I crouched down, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "No, baby. Mommy's just thinking." But I was lying. I wasn't just thinking. I was drowning in thoughts I couldn't escape. That afternoon, I decided to take a walk. The park near our house was full of life. Kids playing, dogs barking, the faint scent of cut grass in the air. It should have been comforting, but everything felt distant, unreal. I sat on a bench watching a mother push her baby in a stroller, humming softly. My chest tightened. I wanted that peace, that certainty. I wanted to believe everything would fall into place. But right now, I was stuck between two impossible choices, and both promised to hurt. That night, when Evan got home, he looked drained. He sat down beside me on the couch, but didn't say anything for a while. Finally, he said, "I've been thinking." I held my breath. "I don't want you to hate me, Maya," he said quietly. I can't handle the idea of another child right now. We're barely managing as it is." I turned toward him. "So, what are you saying? That I should end this? Pretend it never happened?" His jaw tightened. "I'm saying we should be realistic. We're not ready. Emotionally, financially, any of it. And what about me? I whispered. What if I can't just walk away from this? He looked at me for a long time, then sighed. I don't know what you want me to say. I wanted him to say, we'll figure it out. I wanted him to say, we'll make it work together. But those words never came. Instead, he got up and went to take a shower, leaving me there with the sound of running water and 1,000 unsaid things. Later that night, after he fell asleep, I found myself scrolling through the comments on my Reddit post again. Dozens of strangers had written paragraphs, advice, empathy, even prayers. One comment stood out. You can rebuild a marriage. You can't rebuild a life you choose not to bring into the world. I read it 3 times. It hit something deep inside me. But then another one said, if he's not ready, forcing it could destroy what's left between you. Sometimes love means letting go. I dropped my phone and buried my face in my hands. Everyone had an opinion, but none of them were the ones who had to live with the choice. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of rain. The world outside was gray, the kind of gray that seeps into your bones. Evan had already left for work, but he'd left a note on the counter. We'll talk tonight. I stared at those words for a long time, wondering if talk meant decide. I spent the day pacing the house, cleaning things that didn't need cleaning, cooking food I didn't want to eat. My thoughts spun in circles. Every time I looked at Sophie, I imagined what it would be like to have another tiny hand in hers, another laugh echoing through the hall. By the time Evan came home, I was exhausted, not physically, but emotionally drained. We sat down at the kitchen table, the air thick between us. I made an appointment, he said. My heart stopped. For what? The clinic. I stared at him. You made it without asking me? He rubbed his face with both hands. I just wanted to get information. That's all. You don't have to go. But I knew what he was doing, trying to control something that wasn't his to control. Still, I didn't argue. I didn't have the energy. I just nodded, my throat tight. That night, when the house went dark, I sat on the bathroom floor again, test still hidden in the drawer. I pulled it out and stared at those 2 lines until the world blurred around me. I'm sorry, I whispered. I didn't even know who I was apologizing to, the baby, Evan, or myself. The following day, I dropped Sophie off at daycare and drove to the clinic. Evan offered to come, but I told him I needed to go alone. The drive felt endless. Gray skies, steady rain, wipers scraping rhythmically. My heart pounded the entire way. Inside the waiting room was sterile and quiet. I could hear the faint buzz of the fluorescent lights. The receptionist handed me a clipboard, her voice soft but detached. As I filled out the forms, my hand trembled. My stomach churned. The smell of disinfectant made me nauseous. When they finally called my name, I stood up, but my legs wouldn't move. The nurse smiled gently. Take your time. But I couldn't. I walked out instead, straight through the doors, into the rain, gasping for air like I'd been underwater too long. When I got to my car, I broke down. Tears, shaking, the whole thing. I couldn't breathe. I called Evan, my voice barely a whisper. I couldn't do it. He was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "Come home. We'll talk." When I got there, he didn't look angry, just tired, defeated. He took my hands and said, "Maya, I don't want to lose you. But if you have this baby, I don't know if I can stay." Those words shattered me more than anything else could. I pulled my hands away and whispered, Then maybe I already lost you. He didn't answer. He just turned and walked into the other room, leaving me standing there with the sound of Sophie's toys clattering faintly in the background. That night, I couldn't stop crying. I sat on the kitchen floor, hugging my knees, feeling like my whole world was slipping away piece by piece. At some point, I must have fallen asleep there because when I opened my eyes, the sun was coming up. Sophie toddled into the kitchen, holding her stuffed bunny. She smiled at me, that bright, innocent smile that made everything else disappear for just a second. And in that moment, I realized something. This wasn't just about a choice. It was about what kind of person I wanted to be, what kind of mother, what kind of woman. Evan and I were both scared, but fear doesn't make a decision for you. It only makes the silence louder. Later that day when he came home, we sat outside on the porch. Neither of us said anything at first. Then he finally whispered, "What are you thinking?" I looked out at the fading light, the way the sky turned pink over the rooftops. I'm thinking that maybe there isn't a right answer. Maybe there's just what I can live with. He nodded slowly, eyes glistening. And what can you live with? I didn't answer. Not yet. I wasn't ready. But deep down, something had shifted. For the first time, I wasn't just thinking about what Evan wanted or what people online said. I was thinking about me, about the quiet, trembling voice inside that kept whispering, "Don't let go." That night, I stood by Sophie's crib again, listening to her steady breathing. My hand rested on my stomach. And even though the future terrified me for the first time, I didn't feel completely alone. If you've been watching this far, thank you. It means more than you know. Please like this video and subscribe so more people can hear stories that remind us we're all fighting battles no one else sees. Because sometimes, just being heard is enough. The next few days felt like walking through fog. Everything looked familiar, yet somehow distant, like I was living in someone else's life. Evan barely spoke to me. He left early for work and came home late, always finding something to fix, something to do, anything that didn't involve sitting down and looking me in the eyes. I tried to keep things normal for Sophie. We went to the park, baked cookies, sang silly songs. She laughed the same way she always did, that bright little laugh that sounded like sunlight. But every time she called, "Mommy," I felt this ache deep inside, a mixture of love and fear, because somewhere inside me, another tiny heartbeat might already be calling for me too. That night, after putting Sophie to bed, I sat on the couch, staring at the empty space beside me. The silence in our house had a sound of its own now, like a storm you can't see but can still feel. When Evan finally came out of the bedroom, he looked hesitant, almost guilty. "Can we talk?" he asked. I nodded, though my heart was already bracing for impact. He sat across from me, elbows on his knees. "I've been thinking about what you said," he began, "about what you can live with." He paused, eyes flicking up to mine. "I know I'm scared. I know I've made this harder. But Maya, if you decide to have this baby, I don't know if I can handle it. Not because I don't love you, I do, but because I'm tired. I'm stretched too thin, and I don't want to fail you or our kids." His voice cracked on that last word, kids. For a second, I wanted to reach out, to tell him it would all be okay. But I couldn't promise something I didn't believe myself. Instead, I whispered, "And if I don't have it?" "What then?" He looked at me, eyes filled with something I couldn't name. Then we move on. We focus on Sophie. We start fresh. I turned away, blinking back tears. Start fresh? By pretending nothing happened? He didn't answer. I got up and walked into the kitchen, my mind spinning. The sound of the fridge humming was deafening. My hands trembled as I gripped the counter, trying to steady myself. In that moment, I realized something cruel. It wasn't just about this pregnancy anymore. It was about everything we'd stopped saying to each other. Every unspoken fear, every unhealed scar. The next morning, I woke up before dawn. The world outside was still dark, but my thoughts wouldn't let me rest. I decided to go for a drive. I didn't even know where I was going. I just needed air, space, something. I ended up near the lake, the one where Evan and I had our first date years ago. I parked, turned off the engine, and listened to the quiet hum of the water. The sky was starting to glow faintly, streaks of pink brushing the horizon. I closed my eyes and remembered that first night, how nervous we'd been, how we talked about our dreams, about someday having a family. He'd looked at me then with such certainty. I wondered when that certainty had vanished. As the sun began to rise, I whispered, "How did we get here?" My voice cracked, lost in the sound of the waves. After a while, I pulled out my phone and opened the Reddit thread again. New messages had come in overnight. One said, "Whatever happens, don't let fear make your choice. Let love do it." Another said, "Sometimes the right thing isn't clear until you stop trying to please everyone else." I stared at those words for a long time. Then, slowly, I felt something shift, a small flicker of calm beneath the chaos. When I got home, Evan was in the kitchen feeding Sophie. He looked surprised to see me up so early. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked quietly. I shook my head. "Just needed to think." He studied my face. "And did you?" I hesitated. "I think so." He looked like he wanted to ask more, but instead, he just nodded and turned back to Sophie. The day passed slowly. I went through the motions. Laundry, dishes, emails, all while that conversation replayed in my head. That evening, when Sophie went down for her nap, I stood by the window watching the sky turn orange. Evan walked up behind me, his hand hovering near my shoulder, unsure whether to touch me. "I miss us," he said softly. Tears filled my eyes. "Then come back to me," I whispered. "But please, don't make me choose between you and a part of myself." He looked at me, pain and love tangled together. "I don't want to lose you, Maya, but I don't know how to fix this." "Maybe we stop trying to fix it," I said. "Maybe we just start listening." We stood there for a long time, not talking, just breathing. Later that night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Evan's breathing beside me was slow, even. My mind replayed everything. The test, the rain, the clinic, the silence. And underneath it all, a tiny question pulsed in my chest. What if this is meant to happen? I pressed a hand to my stomach. My heart thudded against my palm. Outside, thunder rumbled faintly in the distance, a storm rolling in. I whispered into the dark. Who am I becoming? The wind outside howled softly through the trees, like the world itself was trying to answer. The next morning, I woke to sunlight cutting through the curtains. The storm had passed, leaving the world washed clean. Evan was gone for work, but he'd left a note on the kitchen table. "We'll talk tonight. I promise." For once, I wasn't afraid of that promise. That day, I felt a strange kind of calm. Not peace exactly, but something close. I took Sophie to the park again. She ran through the grass, laughing as she chased butterflies. And for a moment, I could almost see it. The life I wanted. The family I dreamed of. A home filled with love, not fear. When we got home, I tucked her into bed for her nap. She reached up sleepily and touched my face. "Love you, Mommy." My throat tightened. "I love you too, baby." Oh, so much that night as I sat alone waiting for Evan to come home, I realized that no matter what happened next, I had to stop living in silence. I had to speak my truth, even if it broke everything open. When the sound of his car pulled into the driveway, my heart began to race. He walked in quietly, setting his keys down. "You said you wanted to talk," he said. I nodded. "Yeah." The clock ticked softly in the background as we faced each other. And in that moment, standing there between love and fear, hope and heartbreak, I knew that whatever I said next would change everything. If you've made it this far, thank you for being here. Please take a second to like this video. It really helps the channel grow and lets more people find these stories. Because sometimes, we all need to remember that even in the darkest moments, the heart still whispers what it wants. That evening felt different. The air in the house was heavy, almost electric. Like everything we'd both avoided saying was hovering between us, waiting to be spoken. Evan stood by the counter, his end shoved into his pockets, while I sat at the table staring at the empty chair across from me. The kitchen clock ticked softly, steady, unbothered, like it didn't care that my entire world was hanging by a thread. Finally, he broke the silence. "Maya," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "I love you. But I need to know what you're thinking. I can't live like this, not knowing." I took a deep breath, the kind that hurts a little when it leaves your chest. "I've been trying to figure that out too," I said. "I wish there was a way to make this easy, but there isn't." He nodded slowly. "I know." For a moment, we just stared at each other. Two people who loved each other, but didn't know how to walk the same road anymore. "I don't want to force you," I continued, "but I also can't ignore what's inside me. Not just this baby, but everything I've been feeling." Evan walked closer, resting his hands on the table. His voice was barely a whisper. "So what are you saying?" I looked up, my eyes meeting his. "I'm saying that I need to follow what I feel is right, even if it means you might not understand." He froze, and in that pause, 1,000 emotions flickered across his face. Fear, confusion, love, and something that looked like grief. "Are you sure?" he asked. I hesitated. "No, but maybe that's what faith looks like. Doing something even when you're not sure." He closed his eyes for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Whatever happens, I'll try to understand." Those words were small, but they cracked something open inside me. We didn't fight that night. We didn't cry either. We just sat together, quietly, almost like two old souls who'd seen too much of each other to hate, but not enough to stop hurting. After he went to bed, I stepped outside onto the porch. The night air was cool against my skin, the sky full of stars that seemed too bright for how heavy my heart felt. I wrapped my arms around myself and whispered into the dark, "Please, give me strength." Somewhere inside, a small calm began to bloom. Not certainty, not peace, just acceptance. The next few days blurred together. Evan was distant but kind. He made breakfast for Sophie, helped around the house, and tried to smile. I could tell he was waiting, not for an answer, but for the moment I'd finally decide. One afternoon, I found him in Sophie's room, sitting on the floor with her while she stacked her colorful blocks. He was laughing, a real laugh, one I hadn't heard in weeks. The sound filled the room, warm and familiar. I stood in the doorway watching them, tears stinging my eyes. In that moment, everything made sense, and nothing did. I wanted to freeze time, to live forever in that tiny space between heartbreak and love. Later that night, after Sophie fell asleep, Evan joined me in the living room. The glow from the lamp painted soft shadows across his face. "I've been thinking," he said carefully, "about us." I just listened. He took a deep breath. "Maybe I've been running from fear." I told myself I wasn't ready, but maybe no one ever really is. My heart thudded in my chest. He continued, "I'm not saying I've changed my mind. I don't want you to make a decision out of fear either. Whatever you choose, I'll try to be there. Even if it's hard." It was the first time in weeks that I saw a glimpse of the man I fell in love with. Vulnerable, scared, but honest. Tears filled my eyes, but I smiled. "Thank you," I whispered. "That's all I needed." We didn't solve anything that night, but for the first time, it felt like we were on the same side. Not as opponents, but as two people lost in the same storm, trying to find the same shore. Over the next week, something inside me began to shift. The panic that had once kept me awake at night started to quiet down, replaced by something gentler, a strange, fragile strength. I started writing again, journaling every thought, every doubt, every hope. It became my way of breathing. One morning, I took Sophie to the lake again. She ran ahead, chasing birds, her laughter echoing across the water. I sat on a bench, feeling the wind on my face, and for the first time in a long time, I smiled. A woman sitting nearby caught my eye. She had two little boys playing in the sand. She looked at me and said, "They grow up too fast, don't they?" I nodded, my throat tight. "Yeah, faster than we're ready for." She smiled softly, then turned back to her kids. And I sat there, letting the sound of their laughter mix with the waves. Something about that moment felt like an answer. Not in words, but in feeling. When I got home, Evan was waiting on the porch. He looked up as I walked toward him, his eyes full of quiet questions. I stopped a few steps away and met his gaze. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The world around us went still, just the sound of wind rustling through the trees. And then I whispered, "I've made my choice." Evan's eyes widened slightly, his lips parting as if to ask, "Which one?" But I didn't give him the answer. Not yet. Because maybe this story isn't about the choice itself. Maybe it's about learning to face the storm without running. The truth is, life doesn't always give us clear endings. Sometimes it just gives us the courage to keep walking through the unknown, hand in hand, even if we don't know where the road leads. That night, after putting Sophie to bed, I stood by the window, watching the city lights shimmer in the distance. Evan came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. We didn't say a word. We just stood there, breathing together, and for the first time in a long while, it didn't feel like goodbye. If you've stayed with me till the end, thank you. Please like this video if it touched your heart, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this, because sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones that never tell you how they end.